Should I do it? Okay, I'm going to do it. Welcome to the February 27th, 2025 meeting of the Village of Pinehurst Historic Preservation Commission. The purpose of the commission is to decide applications for certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work within the Pinehurst Historic District, and to do so by conducting hearings and making findings of fact when such applications come before us. By law, the commission is directed to take no action except to prevent construction or alterations that would be incongruous with the special character of the historic district. I am Kara Mathis, Vice Chair of the Commission, acting as Chair today, and I ask each commissioner, starting from my far left, to state his or her name for the record.
Justin Bramlage.
Joe Iverson.
David Herring.
Paul Roberts.
Richard Vincent and Angelique Fabiani are absent, but we have a quorum, so we can proceed. Oh, also present are Jean Ann Dawson, Maria Klein, and Michael Mandeville. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of our last meeting. All commissioners have been provided with copies of the draft minutes. Does any commissioner have any changes to suggest? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Justin, seconded by Joe. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The minutes are approved. May I now have a motion to enter the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by David. Is there a second? Seconded by Paul. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. We are now in the public hearing. Oh, and Angelique just joined us. So now we have a super quorum. Do you want to bring a chair over? This is a quasi-judicial hearing. That means that anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and the commission is required to consider only facts presented in this hearing. The proceedings are video recorded. I asked the commissioners if they have visited any of the sites on our docket today and whether they have had any ex parte communications with respect to any of the cases we'll be considering today. And let's start at my right.
I've visited both sites. I've had no communications.
I have visited both. I met the owner at the Linden Road project, introduced myself. That was the sum total of our conversation.
And I visited both sites, no ex parte communication.
Angelique Fabiani visited both sites, and there were no ex parte communications.
Visited both sites, no ex parte communication.
Visited both, no ex parte communication.
In each case that the commission will hear this afternoon, staff will first present a summary of the application, the staff's evaluation of the extent to which the application complies with the commission's standards for such an application or raises issues that require further information, the staff's comments on the application, and, where appropriate, the staff's recommendations for commission action. The application and its supporting documents, as well as the staff's detailed report, will then be entered into the record. Commissioners will then have an opportunity to question staff about this report and testimony. Next, the applicant or the applicant's representatives will have an opportunity to provide any additional information supporting the application and to address any questions or issues identified in staff's testimony. Commissioners will then have an opportunity to question the applicant witnesses. After the applicant's presentation, if any member of the public wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at that time and identify yourself. I will swear you in and give you an opportunity to present any reasons why you believe that the application should be granted or denied. Please remember the Commission is interested in facts that will help us decide whether the proposed work would be congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District. As chair, I have the right to exclude testimony that isn't relevant to that subject, but I'm not required to do so. Commissioners will then have an opportunity to question you about your testimony. If the applicant or staff wishes to respond to your testimony, I will permit them to do so. I will now swear in members of staff. Will all staff members who may give evidence in this proceeding please stand, raise your right hand, and state your name for the record?
Maria Klein.
All right. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the Commission with respect to all the cases on our docket today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Please present our first case this afternoon.
All right. Our first COA, the purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request for a major certificate of appropriateness within the Pinehurst Historic District for modifications to the facade at 45 Campbell Road. The property is identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 000-17327. The property owner is Lori McGove, and the applicant is Pinehurst Homes. So the applicant is proposing to add a door and brick stairs to the rear of the dwelling. All the materials that they'll be using will match the existing materials and colors. And it is major work requiring review from this board because it is eliminating or adding windows and or doors. The meeting was noticed in accordance with the PDO and North Carolina general statutes, and you can see the subject property in the hashed out area with the property owners that were notified outlined in red. So here you have the elevation for the addition of the stairs and the addition of the door. And here is the existing home. So there's not a big change happening there. And they have submitted an application and provided the documentation to satisfy the burden of proof. You need to determine if the addition of the door and stairs is congruous with the historic district and if it meets the historic district standards. And I would like to submit into the record the staff report with attachments and exhibits, this presentation, and the applicant's materials and exhibits.
Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record. Do the commissioners have questions for staff?
I do. There is a drawing indicating the additional doors, and there's a photograph of what appears to be the same elevation with doors in place. What's the difference? Are they going to take out the doors in the photograph and replace them with the doors in the drawing?
I'm going to let you address the applicant.
Thank you.
That question.
Okay, thank you. We will now hear from the applicant. Is the applicant or their representative present? All right, please come forward to the standing microphone. Please state your name, spell your last name for the record, and state your relationship to the property.
Brandon Haddock, Haddock. I'm the owner of Pinehurst Homes, the contractor on site.
Okay. Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that this testimony that you shall give to the commission with respect to this application shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. You have been sworn in, and you're welcome to come down to the seated microphone. If there's anything in the presentation by staff that you disagree with or would like to revise or clarify, or anything that you'd like to add in support of the application, this is your opportunity to do so.
Yes, so we could start with David's question.
You just move this a little bit closer just so we
Sure.
can hear
Okay.
you.
Yeah, so with the question, it's not the addition of a door, it's the replacement of a door. It will stay the same existing size with the exception of the transom windows above will go away and the door level comes up to match the door on the right side. Reason being, there's a sunken living room behind it. Common to see houses built in the early 90s, late 80s. So the sunken living room is coming up to the existing floor level of the rest of the home. Will require the addition of the stairs.
So in the drawing, there are what appears to be 4 doors in a row, or maybe 2 sliders and 2 fixed, a little hard to tell, but 4 units
Correct.
and a separate door. The photograph shows 5 panels and a separate door. Is the photograph more right than the drawing?
Incorrect. The photograph is existing. The drawing is the proposed change, replacement of a door with a different unit that will be 4 panels.
Okay, thank you.
You guys are basically gonna take all of the windows out, so it's a square, bump everything up, and then just replace it with four
The
door
new door
panels.
that actually fits in the existing hole. So we will not modify the opening other than the coming up.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Okay, I think we're all right with you then. If there is any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at this time and identify yourself. I didn't think so. All right, let's see. Okay, then the record in this case is closed and the commissioners will deliberate. So you're welcome to stay there or you can go back to your seat if you'd like. Anyone?
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at 45 Campbell Road is consistent with the Historic District standards and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact.
All right, so moved by David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Joe. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. All right, the motion passes. Congratulations. You have your certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you.
All right, Maria, we're ready for I'm finding my place in the script, so you're
Okay.
good to go.
All right, so our second public hearing is to request a major certificate of appropriateness within the Pinehurst Historic District for modifications to the facade and tree removal at 280 Linden Road. The property is identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 000-27982. The property owner, I am informed, is incorrect on here. It is Lisa Purrington, and the applicant is Ronald Davidson. The applicant is proposing to paint the brick facade and the trim of the dwelling. The facade will be white heron, Benjamin Moore, and the trim would be the Tarrytown green. And they are also proposing to remove 10 trees from the front yard. It is major work which requires review from this board because it is the removal of healthy trees 12 inches or larger in diameter at breast height along the street side of a property that are not located within the right-of-way, and minor work items not approved by the village planner. Again, it was noticed in accordance with the PDO and North Carolina general statutes. The hashed out area is the subject property with the notified property owners outlined in red. So we went over this at the last meeting, but I'll just review again real quick. They are proposing to paint the facade, the brick part white, and then the trim in the Tarrytown green. Here they submitted a site plan kind of identifying where the different trees are that they're proposing to remove, along with a bunch of pictures. I didn't put all of them, but I put the 2 that are right in front of the house, along with some of the larger trees that they're proposing to remove. And they did say that some of them have damage, like the damaged trunk here and a split trunk. They also submitted a list of other homes in the historic district that are painted brick for your review and to show that it is congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District. So the applicant did provide an application and documentation in an attempt to satisfy the burden of proof. The commission needs to determine if painting the brick facade and removing the trees is congruous with the historic district and if it meets the historic district standards. And I would like to submit into the record the staff report with attachments and exhibits, the presentation, and the application and applicant's materials and exhibits.
Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record. Do the commissioners have questions for staff? I just had one. Now I can't remember the phrasing. Minor work not approved by the village planner. That doesn't mean that it was not approved. It just meant it has been pushed to us to approve.
It's the painting of the brick. There's not really a major or a minor for that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
even it's an improved color, but
But there
staff-
was no rejection. It wasn't, we
No.
reject this. Okay.
correct.
Got it. All right, thank you. We will now hear from the applicant. Is the applicant or their representative present? Please come forward to the standing microphone. Hello again. Please,
Davidson, Davidson, contractor hired by the owner for the project.
all right. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission with respect to this application shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You have been sworn in. If there's anything in the presentation by staff that you disagree with or would like to revise or clarify, or anything that you would like to add in support of the application, this is your opportunity to do so. And just make sure, that we speak into the mic so we have it on the record.
Well, I mean, quite a few of you visited the site. You saw what trees we wanted to remove. You saw which trees were damaged and undergrowth, and I'm good with it.
All right. Anything else?
I mean, I got a list from the arborist, but I mean, if you went out there, you saw, well, there's split trunk over by the driveway, and it's too close to the driveway. There's a lightning scar on a tree in the back that we want to take down. There's another tree that's too close to the house in the back, 7 feet. There's 2 trees in the front that we want to take down that are too close. They're 7 foot and 10 foot. And then there's 3 large trees in the middle that are, if they go, they're going to go in an ice storm. I mean, they're big, but I mean, I lived 2 blocks from here 25 years ago when we lost half the trees. Luckily, they weren't above the house, but it'll do their damage.
All right. Thank you for your additional comments. Do the commissioners have questions for the applicant?
One question. Are you replacing shutters?
Yes.
Are the shutters that are going to be replaced the same size as the ones that are there now?
Correct.
Thank you.
And we don't worry about that, right? The colors, the hunter green. I think that was on the application, but
Yes, I mean, that's
that's just part of it.
the approved, yeah.
Yep.
It's an approved color, so.
I know we asked a couple questions last time, so this may be repetitive, but that was a month ago. So I do apologize ahead of time. What are the number of trees again? I know we said 11 or 12, just
Well, there's 9, I believe 9 in the front and 2 in the back.
okay, 9 in the front. Okay, how many trees are in the front?
Where you see the driveway, the concrete driveway going out to Linden Lane, from there towards the Linden Road and across the other front of the property are probably 43 trees on the property and another 10 or 11 on the right of way.
Okay. And of those 9 that you want to remove, how many were deemed by who'd you have
Arborist.
out there?
The arborist,
Arborist, yeah,
I mean, we're,
damaged?
um,
And when damaged, and does the damage, is that considered a risk?
yes. Well,
Okay.
there's pictures of showing the trunk where it's split open,
Uh-huh.
and there's pictures showing the lightning strike. And then where, on the drawing, number 3, those trees are they're not growing, they're small. And they're just growing, they're growing up, but they're not growing the girth.
Yeah, so how many of the 9 that are being removed in the front, do you know how many were deemed as damaged?
4,
4? That's all my questions, thank you.
A follow-up question before you step down. I counted a total of 12 trees with tags on them.
Okay.
My count is right. There are 2 in the backyard.
yes,
Means there are 10 in the front yard.
yes.
Is that correct?
9 or 10.
Yeah, I'm just going by your drawing with your numbers. And also the ones that I saw tags on. So I believe it's 10 and 2. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions by commissioners? All right, is there any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application? Please come forward at this time and identify yourself. Seeing none, the record in this case is closed and the commissioners will deliberate.
My thoughts after visiting the site. There are 3 large trees, 4, 5, and 6. They vary between 28 and 38 inches. They are, if the whole tree fell toward the house, it would most definitely hit the house. Although for me, that's not a criteria to remove them. They contribute a major part of the tree canopy. They're the biggest trees on the lot that I could find. All the others, in my mind, could be removed without any significant impact on the tree canopy. According to the photographs, those three trees are not damaged. That is, if I understand it right, an arborist did not say that they were damaged in a way that would be dangerous. That's all I got.
I am not an arborist, but the 2 of the trees that were discussed as growing up and not a larger trunk, if one of the 2 were taken down, would it give the other the opportunity to grow larger if it's not damaged?
I think all 3 of those trees, by virtue of their age and what appears to be excellent health, are fine just the way they are. I don't think any of the 3 are hurting in a significant way.
Sorry,
those
to
are the
clarify,
4
not those 3. There's, and I'm not positive if it's the 2 that are marked as 3 or the.
Yeah, it's the 2 is number 3.
Oh,
There were 2 smaller ones that were right next to each other.
yeah. I don't think they're significant trees at all. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at them.
They definitely don't contribute to the
No.
canopy.
Mm.
And I don't know, to answer your question, I don't.
Yeah, I guess
assume
that
they're
was my only
probably-
additional thought was like, could we reduce the number by 1 and allow one other to grow larger? Was where my mind was going, where it would actually contribute to the tree canopy in the near
I
future.
think they're far enough apart. You know, the general rule where we live anyway is 6 feet between trunks of saplings is a sort of the minimum number, and I'm sure that's more than 6 feet. I'm not an arborist either.
Do you have thoughts on the original 2 that were right next to the house?
Yeah, they should go. They're way too close. Healthy or not, they're a danger. I agree. But in my mind, all but those 3, 4, 5, and 6 could come down. We'd hardly notice.
Okay. So if you made a motion, would you limit the number of trees?
Yes, I would. Insofar as the painting of the brick, as I mentioned a month ago, in my mind, the rules are quite clear. I can find no compelling reason to allow the painting of the brick when the book says don't paint the brick.
Okay, so when I looked it over, it said painting brick is not appropriate. But I couldn't find anywhere that it said don't paint it, or you're not allowed to paint it. And I don't know if that's a phrasing.
But isn't, by definition, certificate of appropriateness unappropriate? Or inappropriate, the opposite of appropriate?
I guess so, but since when we tackle these things and the language is so specific, so we, go over should, must, will, whatever, not appropriate is,
I think not appropriate is the equivalent of should, is not the equivalent of the word should. Would be the equivalent of must.
Okay.
In my mind.
yeah, I thought it was more should. I thought, and again, this is a definition, semantic question. Because if our job is to ensure congruity, they are not wrong that painting it white would be perfectly congruous with everything else in the historic district.
I guess my position is, if it were acceptable to paint this house, it should be acceptable to paint every house.
Except that this is an 80s house. Because for me, the biggest problem is if you're going to degrade the brick, if it's 1940s brick or earlier, then I always say no, because that building is going to fall down. But a 1980s house, it is lovely brick. It is lovely. But it won't destroy the house. It won't degrade the brick. Any other thoughts?
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but there's no distinction in the standards for the age of the brick. It just says it's not painting brick is not appropriate. Although there are other homes in the historic district that are painted brick.
And that's what I thought was very valid argument. Number of houses that are already painted.
Yeah, and then to play devil's advocate on that, a lot of them were painted before the HPC was created. So we could, I have these internal conversations with myself.
And past rulings aren't precedent for today's ruling anyway.
Yeah, so I think the question is not appropriate. Does that mean you cannot do it, or does that mean we would love it if you didn't?
Yeah, I would tend to, not appropriate, I would say cannot paint the brick in historic value. That's pretty clear. Not appropriate, I think, opens it up for a discussion that we're having here, and quite honestly, having difficulty understanding, can you or can you not paint the brick? And just a couple other of my thoughts that would persuade me into a decision is I look at the house, although it is a lovely house, I don't think the masonry work has much historic value. And I think that's probably because of the age of the house and when it was constructed. I think when you, opinion, when you drive down Linden Road and you see a house that's nicely painted, I can see why the owner wants to kind of spruce it up. I think it would probably be, to the eye, or my opinion only, would be more appealing, only because of the type of masonry exterior that it has right now.
And I agree. I always bring up the theater building and the diamond-shaped brickwork. Like that would,
Yeah.
Even if it was 1940s or later brick, that contributes greatly to, and actually it might be, to the historical significance of that building. But I agree. I don't think this house is historically significant because of the brick.
However, will it be historically significant 20 years from now?
I guess it depends who lives there and what kind of history gets made. That might be a David question.
A lot of what we do is subjective. It's in my mind, this is it's not so much subjective if the rule says don't paint a brick. We can argue about whether it should or maybe or appropriate. In my mind, the intent is clear. We're trying to avoid people painting their brick. Even if we said should, my objection would be the same. I think if you were to say there are several houses in the neighborhood, meaning the historic district, that are painted, there are lots more that aren't.
I think I appreciate that the owners came to us with this question instead of just painting it, because once
Oh, yeah,
it's painted,
absolutely.
100%.
Yep.
we can't
Nice
do
to
that.
follow the rule.
Yeah.
I mean, they also haven't shown or proven that there aren't other things they can do to spruce up the exterior without painting the brick, like pressure wash, or I don't know. There may be other things they can do to brighten the brick other than just painting it.
I do think this would be a different conversation if the brick was your typical like 60s through 80s orange brick. I think what's giving some of us a hard time is that it is a very pretty brick and a very interesting one. And again, that's subjective, so that's not our role here. Just an observation. Any other thoughts coming out?
I don't think anything additional other than just to restate. I think I'm okay with some trees, though I would argue that of any road in all of Pinehurst where trees make the largest impact, it's Linden. When you drive down it, it just looks like a tunnel. It's gorgeous. So I would say, along with David's comments, not impacting the canopy as much as humanly possible, but understanding the trees that are very close to the house and the trees that are damaged. I get that. I don't want anybody's house to be destroyed. So I think I'm fine with that exception.
Which number, so would that be, I can't see what number, the two closest to the house, and then 4, 3, 4, 5, 6?
4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6.
Just 4, 5,
I believe.
6,
4,
not
5,
those
6.
two little ones.
All of the other trees, in my mind, you can take down.
Okay, so you want to keep 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6 are the only ones I think worth saving. They contribute by far the majority of the canopy. I should point out the canopy is way up there. These are very big trees. And as you know, longleaf pines like these, the canopy doesn't come down very far. If you were to remove the other 9 trees, there would be plenty of additional daylight that would reach the ground.
Are we considering the trees in the back? That's not, we're just considering
our-
right away, really.
Not our
Well,
purview, no.
I'm not sure that's right. We're responsible for the canopy.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, there were a bunch of really big trees in the backyard and no trees in the front yard. Suddenly, the trees in the backyard are something we should look at. So just because they're in the backyard doesn't mean we shouldn't look at their canopy. In this case, I think that number 11 should go because of its danger to the house. The other one, you can hardly even see the tree, even if you're standing right on their property line.
Okay, so if you were to make this motion, it would be removal of only
All trees except 4, 5, 6.
in 12. Would you keep 12 or
I would keep 4, 5, 6. That's all.
okay?
I'll live with that compromise. I mean, obviously, we've got to ask them, see if they'll live with it.
Well, I think so.
But
We would
sure.
probably make that motion, right? We would make the motion with the condition that.
Let somebody make a motion. We'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yep. Okay.
And I think the other thing I would just
Talk about painting,
that I would articulate just really quickly, as brought up by one of our fellow commissioners last month, is we don't, all of us have to agree. When a motion is made, we can disagree with the motion, why there's more than one person sitting up here. So I would just, as encouragement, the
Yeah.
expectation isn't all 6 of us agree with every tree, agree with every color, agree with everything.
Just
what
someone
it's
can
worth.
make a motion.
Yeah.
If it's not seconded,
Then we'll
It-
do this all over
you
again.
move on and make another
We'll
motion.
keep going. We'll keep tweaking. But the motion is technically 2-part because we are talking about the trees and we're talking about painting. So
The motion's up to the motion maker.
who's gonna make it?
think of how I would word it. I'm willing to, I'm just trying to think of how I would word it here real quick. Can I ask just for assistance on how I would word?
So it's not consistent. And so this is inconsistent but congruous. It's inconsistent with standards, but congruous.
Depends on what
So-
the motion is.
Yes, true.
But if you're going to
True.
deny, it would have to be inconsistent and incongruous.
Right, but if you're making the motion to approve it, it can be inconsistent but congruous with
Yes.
conditions.
Happy to try.
Fire away.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find that the proposed major work at 280 Linden Road is consistent with the Historic District standards and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact with the following conditions.
Okay, wait, but it is inconsistent, right? Technically, it's inconsistent.
According to my soon-to-be articulated motion, it would be consistent. Motion is that the brick cannot be painted, that all the trees except 4, 5, and 6 can be removed, but 4, 5, and 6 must remain.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call to vote.
Okay, and I want to make it very clear that you do not have to approve this if you feel differently. So let's go one by one, starting with Justin. So the conditions are do not paint the brick and you may remove all of the trees except 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, that's correct.
Concur. Agree? What's the
Say
correct
aye.
word? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Okay, so that's, oh
Well-
gosh, 3 no's and 3 yays.
Okay,
So we
that's
do
okay.
not have a, what's the word?
So that's,
Majority.
so that's,
Consensus, yes.
so that's okay, we don't have a consensus, so we're back into deliberation, correct?
Yes.
Can those who disagree with the motion articulate why they voted nay?
Yes. Joe?
I just think the painting of the house is not a problem with me with considering the age of the house, like you mentioned earlier, it's not.
Yep, and same for me.
I think it will be congruous with, when you drive down that street, there are a number of white on white houses that will match a lot of the houses down that street.
Oh yeah, make sure you.
I would encourage us to consider this an alert that we should be working on changing our rules, if that's the opinion of the commission,
Yeah, I do think that the standards.
rather than not following the rules as they are written.
Well, I don't think it's changing the rules. I think it's clarifying it because to me, when I read through those, nowhere did it say you are not allowed to paint the brick. It just says not appropriate. So if it's open for interpretation even among us, then it's definitely open for interpretation
Absolutely.
publicly. But yes, I agree with Joe. That was my reservation. And Paul?
Yeah, I've already stated that just because of I would agree, there's some masonry buildings that you do not want to paint. I think because of the age and the type of masonry this home is, I think it would be more attractive than, leaving it the way it is.
And
I would agree, my no vote was because of the paint.
And just for clarification, because that is subjective, whether this brick would be more attractive than white paint, it doesn't even really matter if we think that it would be more attractive. It could be the most glorious brick ever, in our opinion. And again, I just think that the standards are not as clear as they could be, which requires us to go back and review them.
Right.
And it is not historic. And that's that's for me the biggest thing is this brick is not going to degrade the way historic brick would. So who am I to say that?
Let me ask the no votes. If the phrase in the rules didn't say is not appropriate, but said will not,
Yeah.
would you vote yes in that case?
Yes?
Yeah, if
I
our
mean,
standards say you
would-
cannot, yeah.
I mean, you would have to, I think.
Well, sometimes if there's an absolute says will not, and for some reason the vote is contrary to that rule for some specific reason. We've done that in the past.
I think then it is incumbent on us to make sure that when we are phrasing the standards, we take that into consideration. If there are any instances where paint would be allowed, that we write that in, and otherwise it is absolutely not. Because I don't want us to get back up here again and be like, well, past us, said something that,
And it could have been written just so you did have the leniency to do that for specific situations. I've put in there define non-appropriate, and something is not suitable or right for a particular situation or purpose. It doesn't mean you can't do it, and this comes from AI. They're smarter than all of us, so, I was looking for something that was a little more definite, a yes or no.
Yeah.
Can or cannot, and it didn't give me that. So.
Well, let me take you to page 3 of the standards.
Yeah.
Regarding it is not appropriate. It says here, owners, architects, builders are encouraged to consider and comply with the standards. Strongest recommendations contain the words must, must not, or it is not appropriate. They are equivalents. Says so right here on page 3 of the rules, although it's not AI.
I iterate the standards.
So in my mind, the rules are clear. I mean, not that I like the rules, but that's the rule. If we don't like it, we should change the rules. In the
Well, it's-
meantime, we should either articulate a specific reason to violate the rule,
Yeah.
and enough of us agree to make it pass, or we should follow the rules.
I think it's interesting that if must and is not appropriate mean the same thing, then why do we even have is not appropriate? Like, then we should have just said must or must not. So I guess I question why past us even included that if that was not what we meant.
Probably just wanted a softer way to draft the rules and not sound so harsh, but if it means must not, again, absent a compelling justification, then I'm with David. The rules are the rules, that it's basically not allowed. They're not saying it's not allowed by their terminology here of not appropriate, but it means it's not allowed.
Well, how about the fact that we have approved painting?
Previous rulings are not precedent for today's ruling. Each ruling stands on its own.
I mean, it almost becomes like, why preserve any brick then? I mean, as it is, new construction is generally not done with brick anymore. A lot of people have already painted their brick houses, so why even bother?
Well, again, for me, it's the historic nature of it. So anything like the firehouse, you wouldn't paint because it is a brick building. In the history books, it is the brick building. The theater building, nobody had better paint ever because that is the defining feature of that building. So I think at some point in the historic district, we get to the point where that building is no longer a part of like the intrinsic history of Pinehurst.
Except
Or
we
we
live
have
in
to-
a really eclectic historic district. There are examples of houses in our historic district that span 100 years. This happens to be a relatively late stage house in the 80s. 100 years from now, that house could easily be called historic for its era, and that brick historic for that era.
And I think my thought to add on to that would be if we aren't preserving differences between houses, we'll end up with every house looking very, very similar. So I still rest on, I believe the standard explicitly says you shouldn't. But I also flip to new construction, and it's not articulated on the new construction that you cannot. However, it is explicitly articulated on the current standing homes that you're not allowed.
That
But
may
I
have
do
been,
become concerned if you drive through other historic areas, even ones who I would say are more historic, they still have differences as well. Not every house is identical. It's not all the same color.
that may have been an acknowledgement that new houses are, there's no so-called historic value in a new house.
Fair?
This house, on the other hand, isn't new, so there is some historic value, even though we seem to not recognize that there is historic value, at least not in 2025. What about 2050 or later?
I think even on the register, this wouldn't appear on the register, and
Well, except the register is a whole different set of rules for different purposes administered by others, not part of our duty.
I think the other part of this is, hopefully this is an okay conversation to have, is the overall, and this is we have to find the balance between this, because you know that I am all hands on deck when it comes to preservation, but we have to figure out how to let people have their house and not dictate what people do to their houses, as long as it is not impacting Pinehurst history, like the actual, and I don't know how we define the history. Like you said, I don't know where that stops. I don't know what becomes history, long after we're gone, but there is an art to making sure that people are allowed to do things with their house as long as it maintains that overall congruity in the village. And we're in this very unique, precarious position where we have to make sure that we take both into consideration.
One other comment is that if we choose to allow the painting of brick, it's a one-way trip.
Yes, you cannot undo it.
The owner can't say, oh, I really like that brick better. Or they sell the house to somebody else and they say, man, I sure wish that was the original brick. Can't do that. This is a one-way decision.
It is.
I think the other thing we need to look at too is how do we provide sufficient information to a new home buyer coming into this community, and they kind of know all the rules. I know this had been something discussed before in a previous, adventure I was on. And, is it a required document? I don't know how you would do it, that it's part of your closing packet.
Yep.
So you understand that you are in the historic district, and then you have to play by these rules. It's unfortunate for home buyers because, people like to sell homes. They're salesmen. They go by a different name as well too. But they're not going to, someone comes in and says, yep, love this house. I can't wait to get my GC out here and get it painted in this. No one who's working on a commission is going to, whoa, stop.
Yep.
Let me tell you about the historic district and the rules.
Yep.
Or the restrictions.
Yep. And they all
so-
say ask forgiveness.
So it really doesn't, help us conversation here.
Yep.
I just want to make sure everyone gets the full hour in. But, it's something that we need to think of so we prevent these situations when a homeowner comes here, buys their retirement home, and is upset because what they thought they could do, they can't do.
Yep.
And then they're pissed off at everybody else.
Absolutely agree with you, Paul, and where we came from was part of closing documents.
I will send you the draft.
Friction state, and it's not here.
We started it though. We did start it a couple years ago. So I'll send it to you if you want to finish it. Because you're absolutely right. I think you saw it. The checklist. But yeah. And that's where we are. Because I think again, I'm so grateful that this applicant came to us. Because a lot of times realtors will say, hey, do whatever you want, ask forgiveness, it's fine. And I really appreciate that we're seeing this case before it's white and there's nothing we can do about it.
All right, so
Yep.
we need to start making some decisions. If somebody has a motion that they want to put forth again, And I will point out in the section that David read, it says the strongest recommendations. So,
I think it even says encourages. It encourages applicants to follow this. So the wording I think is something that we need to work on.
so
I'm going to
we-
make a motion and we will see how this one goes.
May I ask a question before you make that motion?
Yes.
If it goes down split again, does it become a matter of it has to be a continuation until we have an uneven number of commissioners? Or how is that handled? Not that that should impact our vote, I'm more just curious from a standards process.
I think if you cannot come to a consensus, you need 4 people to agree, then we can continue it to next month and hope that we have Richard.
Understood, thank you.
Okay. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve with conditions a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at 280 Linden Road is not consistent with historic district standards, but is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact. And the conditions are trees 4, 5, and 6 stay.
Second?
Moved by Kara, seconded by Paul. Justin, you want to start?
Nay.
So it's as they submitted it, but they can cut down every tree except 4, 5, and 6
What about the paint?
as they submitted.
Nay.
Oh, aye.
No.
Aye.
Should we phone Richard in? Oh gosh, I don't have this on my.
Why I'm asked, I'm aware of the inconvenience and the push timeline. I'm not trying to
Is it,
drive
po-
this further.
is it possible to continue it to a date before a month from now? They've been waiting a month already.
Or can we just approve the tree part so they can do that and then?
Oh, it would have to be, otherwise they'd have to do
Resubmitted?
another. Yep.
Suppose we disapprove the paint and they wish to reapply for the paint.
Then they have to pay again?
It would be a whole new submittal, yes.
Okay, so we're back to my first question. Can we continue to a date sooner than a month from now?
I would have to look at schedules and everything to see if we can find a date that works for everybody.
I make a motion to continue under that condition, assuming you can find.
I
a
think
good
we
date.
have to have a date and a time and a place set in order to continue it though,
Right.
so.
So
Oh my
we got to
gosh.
figure that out like right now.
Yeah, in order to continue it to another date, we'd have to have all of that set.
And I don't think we want this pushed to next month because we have so many cases.
Well, you know, I feel like I'm kind of in a bind here because I'm voting my conscience, what I think is my
Yeah.
job.
And it's completely valid.
And we're stuck, so we need a way out. And it sounds to me like the only way out is to continue it for a month, which is going to cost them another month.
Can we find a date? Can we just stand here and find a date?
I think we have to make a decision tonight or continue it to the next meeting.
I think the problem is Richard's not even here, so we don't know his schedule, and it seems like we need him to break the tie, essentially.
I make a motion to continue next month.
So the motion is to continue until March 27th, just to clarify.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're gonna continue this one to next month. And Maria, can we have this one, can we make this one the first one on the agenda for next month?
Yes,
Okay,
since it's been continued twice.
Yes.
It will be first.
Can we put any constraints on the coming meeting? That is to say, we are to discuss only the paint, so we don't have to go through everything all over again. Because it's already in the
I
record.
mean, the whole application would be before you again, but when you get up and discuss it, you can say you've already decided on that.
We can reference per the approved minutes of February, we agreed on trees, etc.
You have to present the whole thing again? Or can we just say,
As previously
just
presented and
quickly-
in the record.
okay? Because Richard will have seen it, so. Should I close this first and then,
We have to close the record
Yeah.
and reopen. Yeah.
You want to let the applicant speak, or
I don't know, am I allowed to? Are we allowed to? I guess
if she wants
so.
to say?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, if that's, yeah.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, you want to submit a different motion?
Yes. Who made the last motion?
I did. Oh, I withdraw my motion. I'm withdrawing it.
You can make a new one, because yours was almost perfect.
Oh,
Just take the
dang it.
paint out.
Okay. Just
And to
take-
clarify for the record, the motion to continue is withdrawn.
I withdrew that.
To
Okay,
continue,
thank you.
yes. Had we, yeah. Okay, okay, and then I withdrew my motion, and now I am moving that the Historic Preservation Commission, can I approve one and deny the other?
Approve
That
with
can be in
conditions.
Okay,
conditions.
okay. Approve with conditions, a certificate of appropriateness, and find the proposed major work at 280 Linden Road is not consistent with Historic District standards, but is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact. And the commission, again, the conditions are that trees 4, 5, and 6 must stay. And
And
wait, and the house will not be painted. Yeah, the house will not be painted. So none of the, nothing referring to the house.
Just say you're removing the painting of the brick
Okay,
facade from the application.
Okay, we're removing the painting of the house from the application. Did that make sense?
second, can we pause while Alex catches up?
Oh, gosh. Hi, Alex.
What did I miss in 30 seconds?
We need, for a pause, do we need to swear Alex in, given that this is?
I'm not presenting any evidence.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. But what I missed in the 30 seconds, it took me to briskly walk over.
We have a tie, which
To the
we
mic,
have
put it.
been unable to
Yep.
break.
Okay? Was there already a motion, a second, and a vote to continue the meeting?
Motion was made and then
I
withdrawn.
thought I recalled.
No,
But
yes, there was.
Was there a vote?
Was
Motion
there a
made-
vote?
Motion made, but not seconded. Nope, we did not vote.
I thought we did vote. I think we voted it.
We didn't vote.
I thought I
on
heard a vote.
continuing. It was only
In my
seconded.
office, I thought I heard a vote. Only one I couldn't hear was Joe's. From the audio. that's
Oh,
all.
you're right. I don't know if Joe, no, don't say it. Don't say it. I don't think you did.
Can we ask for a recess?
Right now? Motion to recess?
Second.
10 minutes. We're taking a 10-minute recess.
All right, so thank you, everyone, for your patience. So since we have confirmed there was a motion, a second, and a vote to continue the case until next meeting, so that's going to be the case. I've heard some of the dialogue, again, so we're out of that hearing. We're still in the public hearing, but we're out of that evidentiary portion for that particular case. I don't know what else is on the agenda.
That's it.
That's it, okay. So design guidelines are to be subjective. That's the reason why it requires a procedure that you guys are well versed in. So where you can have less ambiguity, the better. However, the historic nature of these design guidelines are that they are subjective. And so that you aren't bound, particular by a precedent that's been made, and each case must hold its own based on the merit or whatever's been presented to you guys. I do think I've got some ideas on how we can maybe head off future issues as it relates to some of the verbiage, especially for painted brick. So we'll work with you guys on that. So hopefully we don't have a repeat of this. And again, thank you guys for being as patient as you have been, but looks like you guys will have them before you in the regular March meeting. And hopefully we will have an odd number of attendees.
Everyone has to be here.
Which odd number?
Yeah. All right. Okay, so that case has been deferred again until the March meeting, which is March 27th. That concludes the public hearing. May I have a motion to close the public hearing and return to the regular commission meeting?
Motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, that was a motion by Paul and seconded by David. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes and we are now in a regular meeting. This is a public meeting and you are all welcome to stay and observe, but only members of the commission and its staff may speak. You've all been provided with a copy of the minor works and staff approvals. Is there any other business? All right, our next regular meeting will be held on Thursday, March 27th at 4 p.m. in this room unless changed. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh.
Is it March 27th?
So their next meeting, don't expect a short one. It'll be a long meeting. We have 7 now.
Can we change
COAs.
the snack sign back? We're definitely going to need snacks.
I'll talk to
Thanks.
whoever made that sign. Also, there is some board training coming up. I think Alex sent an email out to everybody. The School of Government will be here on the 17th with quasi-judicial training. That's from 12:30 to 4:30. That meeting is going to focus more on general stuff that's more targeted, I think, towards Board of Adjustments, special use permits, variances, things like that. And then they are doing an online one, April 30th, that is focused on HPC, certificates of appropriateness, that kind of thing. The one on the 17th is here. They'll be doing it right here. So some of you that have been on the board a little longer, that might be, if you're looking to maybe transition to P&Z at some point in the future, that might be a good one for you to attend. If you're newer to this board, the one on April 30th would be really great because it's going to focus on what you do here. The only thing about that one, I don't know what time it is yet, but that is also our volunteer luncheon date. So it may conflict with that.
But it's online. Is it live online or can we take it?
It's live, yeah, they'll do it.
Okay.
It'll be a Zoom or something like that.
Will
So,
either one be recorded? So we can tune in later?
I don't know that they ever do those where you can go back and watch them. Those 2 dates are the only ones I have right now and information on. So
Can you
if-
email us the specifics?
yes, I can send out an email with both of those dates. And then if you want to let me know if you want to attend one or the other, the one on April 30th, if you do want to attend that one, The sooner we know, the better, because those online ones, they still limit how many people, and that would be something that we'd have to pay for, so I'd have to let Jean Ann know so she can get y'all registered for it. And we'd still need
Clarify,
to
they
know
are
about the 17th.
It's mandatory or strongly encouraged or congruous,
it's-
non-congruous?
It's encouraged.
Okay, thank you.
It's appropriate.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appropriate, thank you.
They dock your pay.
Thank you.
They do great trainings at the School of Government, so. And that was all I have, so.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Angelique, second?
Second.
Seconded by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Get out of here. The motion passes and we are adjourned.
Sean, you